Good morning, good afternoon, friends. This is Steve with Real Progressives. PayGo is back in the news, and we've been talking about it for a long time. A lot of friends, a lot of people out there didn't know what PayGo was, probably still don't know what PayGo is. But PayGo is very important that we understand. PayGo is something that literally serves as a barrier to spending. It says before you can spend on a program, you've got to find the money. In other words, you've got to cut something from somewhere, or you've got to raise taxes to pay for it. Everything's got to be revenue neutral, in other words. So you pay as you go. That's what PayGo means. All right? Now, you have never heard PayGo when it comes to the military. You've never heard of PayGo when it comes to bank bailouts. You've never heard of PayGo when it comes to any type of war effort whatsoever. But as soon as quote unquote progressives, and it's not progressives, folks, we're going to dispel that myth momentarily. But as soon as progressives supposedly win back the House, progressives suddenly want to take away our ability to pass a progressive agenda? That doesn't make any sense, does it? That doesn't make any sense at all. So suddenly, progressives get control of the House, and progressives want to pass a Green New Deal, and progressives suddenly institute a fiscally conservative rule that blocks the ability to pass the legislation. It's an immediate no-go for PayGo if you're a progressive. If you're a neoliberal, let me tell you why you want PayGo. It's not just to block legislation. The very nature of being neoliberal is understanding that when the federal government spends on the people, that the people are no longer as dependent on Wall Street. They're no longer dependent on banking. They're no longer dependent on payday lenders. They're no longer dependent on taking out really bad loans to pay for their cancer therapy. They're no longer in bad situations where they basically pawn off some family heirloom to keep their house out of foreclosure. All of a sudden, the people have choices. And that's what PayGo ultimately is. Ultimately, PayGo allows these people to act like, of course we think healthcare should be a right. Of course we think people should have access to affordable education. Affordable. Affordable to who, right? Of course we think you should be able to have shelter and food and so forth. This is the fake neoliberal progressive. This is the progressive who gets things done, Hillary Clinton style, Nancy Pelosi style thing. They tell you, of course, my God, we voted 97% of the time the same way. How could you say we're not progressives? Of course we're progressives. Just trust us. Of course we're progressives. And then they know automatically the GOP, every single person over there has signed the Grover Norquist pledge that says no new taxes, period. They actually hold to their pledges, unlike Beto, who already failed the no fossil fuel money pledge. Okay? They actually hold to their pledges. And they don't raise taxes. So what you've done is you've set up a stage where the Democrats can then act like, wow, we're fighting for you. These Republicans are blocking us again. They're blocking us again. They won't raise taxes to pay for things. Now, of course, the GOP is more than happy to cut food stamps. The GOP is happy to cut any kind of healthcare assistance or any of these other programs. They're thrilled to do that. They're okay with doing that. So you know they won't raise taxes, but they will cut things. So now what happens? Now we're looking to eat our peas, and we have to tighten our belts, and we have to make cuts. This is how they do it. This is why this is poison. Now, unfortunately, most Americans are not economically savvy. They haven't bothered to learn this stuff. They don't care to learn this stuff, and they get upset when you know it and you force them to learn this stuff, which is what I do, which is why I make friends everywhere I go. But the truth of the matter is, as you witness right here, right now, without understanding how federal finance works, you might think that PayGo sounds good because at your own home, you know that you can't buy a car if you don't have the money or don't have the loan or don't have things shifted around. You know you can't get HBO added to your direct TV or whatever because you don't have enough money coming in, so you have to get rid of Disney Channel or whatever else. You know you have to make these tough decisions at home. So naturally the federal government has to make these tough decisions too. Because, damn it, if my wallet's tight, why should the federal government's be tight? Shouldn't it be tight? But that's when you got to realize, what has that dude Grumbine been saying for the last 4 years that got horrible, horrible resistance? The cool kids thought when I said taxes don't fund spending that I was some libertarian. It's got nothing to do with being a libertarian. It's got to do with knowing economics and being unapologetic in knowing economics and not going along to get along because you don't want to learn economics. Forcing you to learn this is the only way we survive. So federal taxes don't fund spending. So by putting this straw man up there to have to pay for programs and pay as you go is a straw dog meant to knock away any chance of this legislation passing. It's an unnecessary barrier to saving lives. Now, there was a study in the UK done that showed when you have fiscal conservatives, like what we have here, advancing things like PayGo, they call it social murder. Social murder. What would you call those people that are okay with PayGo? I would call them social murderers, wouldn't you? Even if they're on your preferred party's team. This is why when I see some of the Vote Blue operatives running around trying to stop us from talking about what neoliberalism is, that try to stop us from talking about what PayGo is, that want us to just learn to find something good to say about all the Democratic candidates, regardless of whether they're a neoliberal or not, that does what I'm describing. This is why you must pay attention, because for the next 18 months, you're going to be seeing a lot of this nonsense smoke and mirrors. You're going to see Cory Booker come out and talk about a federal job guarantee that's not a federal job guarantee at all. It's a pilot program. And it's meant to fail. It's not meant to succeed, because a job guarantee by its very nature is about the counter-cyclical macro effects of having people roll on and roll off of a federal job, so that there isn't that huge vacuum that sucks all of it down like it happened in the last global financial crisis. So what Cory Booker's offering is not a federal job guarantee, but he's going to call it one, and it's important that you understand that it is a neoliberal charade. And so when someone says they're fiscally conservative, knowing that the federal government creates its money every time it spends, not by your taxes, every time it spends, what in the world would you say to the person that says they're a fiscal conservative, a Democrat, a blue dog that says they're fiscally conservative because they want to protect taxpayer dollars? Now remember, the cycle goes like this. Congress writes a law, it spends the money into existence. Congress writes another law to tax, and it taxes some of that money out of existence. It doesn't just continuously print more money. It literally spends money into existence for the program and deletes money out of existence when it taxes. It's a circuit, and it keeps the well going. It keeps the well going. It keeps the circuit going. It keeps the money moving. But the taxes do not pay for anything. They are literally deleted. Now think about this. When you go to a baseball game, and let's say the Boston Red Sox are playing the New York Yankees, and you got a guy from Boston who smacks a homer right over top of the green monster, and the crowd goes wild. But then on replay, they put one run up on the scoreboard. But then on replay, they realize that the ball was foul. It was a foul ball. They take the one run off the scoreboard. Where did that run go? Where did it come from? Did they have to tax somebody to get that run? Or did they just keystroke the run up on the board? That's how banking works. That literally is how banking works. So it's very important that we understand this, because when Nancy Pelosi says that we have to pay as we go, PayGo, what she's done is put an artificial construct ahead of saving the environment. She's put it ahead of saving lives with healthcare. She's put it ahead of saving children, massive, horrible situations from student debt. She's put it ahead of helping the poor. She's put it ahead of fixing the infrastructure of the nation. She's put it ahead of everything. And for those people, and you're going to look, there's only a handful. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ro Khanna, and a few others, a very few. I think Barbara Lee's on there. But there are very few. We're talking about a small group of people that understand that PayGo is conservative garbage. It is right-wing, neoliberal, Milton Friedman stupidity. It is the dumbest of the dumb. It's cruel. It hurts the poor. There's nothing that hurts the poor more than PayGo. So I want you to understand this, because it's going to take a massive effort for us to tell other people what's going on. If this doesn't make sense to you, it's going to be awful hard to fight back, isn't it? It's going to be really, really hard to fight back. And it's going to be even harder when we're trying to push forward green energy and infrastructure and health care, because we don't need to raise taxes to pay for these things. There's sufficient tax in the system today to keep the currency moving. It's not intended to pay for programs. That's not how it works. So let's learn this stuff. It's very important. Anyway, this is all I'm going to say for right now, folks. Keep your eye out on PayGo. Keep your eye on the people that are fighting back. Join in the fight. This is probably the most important fight you're going to get involved in, because without understanding this, there is no New Deal. There is no health care. There is no student debt relief. There is no green energy. There's no nothing. It's time to call neoliberals out. And when you see someone trying to herd when you see someone trying to herd people into a party and to ignore everything I just said without acknowledging this, they have literally forsaken their value to the planet. They have forsaken their value to the movement. They have forsaken their value to society. It's that big a deal. We need to overrun them with this. Have a good day, everybody. I'm out.